We don't have an intro to this podcast. Maybe we'll have one later. And I am back. Hello. My name is Quan, and I am part of the Film Krew podcast. Unfortunately, Gaspar can't make it tonight, so I'm gonna be doing this podcast solo. He's busy, so I'm not even that worried about it. Hopefully, I'll be able to talk for 30 minutes by myself in front of a camera because I've been relying on him to say stuff if I'm blanking out. So hopefully, this won't turn piss poorly. I was thinking about trying to do like a game capture, like have me play games as I'm bullshitting. But I'm also posting this on Anchor and Spotify and shit, so they don't people who are listening to this on Spotify won't be able to see the game capture. I also don't know how I'm gonna do this. I was thinking about being a fucking degenerate, but that probably won't work out too well. I might try and teach with my fucking goose egg of experience in the industry, because I am still in college. So who knows what I'm gonna talk about. So yeah, bear with me here. I did write some stuff down, but I don't even know if I'm gonna get into everything that I wrote down. Um, First thing I want to talk about though is the book club. I don't know if we're still doing the book club yet. I don't really know if that many people really want to do one. Um, but I do want to preface this. I talked about this a couple times, especially with the gaming episode we did and the book episode, the book to film adaptation. I would like everyone, if we're doing this, to keep an open mind, because I know a lot of people don't really like understand. Because it's one of those things, right? I know like people like really like the books, and when they see like the book turn into a film, they really don't like it, or vice versa. If they like the film, they really hate the book, and they really wish that the stories are exactly the same. And it's never going to be unless the person who wrote the book or made the film goes over to the other side and does the same thing, because at the end of the day it's two different creators and two different interpretations of the same story, right? Like I talked about this last podcast about Harry Potter, how I preferred the Harry Potter books over the movies, but not liking the movies too much, especially how they like kind of changed the character of Ronald Weasley. Um, but I still understand. I don't really hate Harry Potter the movie. I just prefer the books over it. But I do understand that's another interpretation of the Harry Potter story. Um, even with, I don't know, like I was gonna talk about Game of Thrones because we do reference it a lot about how much I dislike it or how much we dislike it. But at the end of the day, I don't really care that they completely destroyed. I don't want to say completely destroyed, but they really didn't like think about the ending too hard in my opinion. But even I understand, if that's how they interpreted the Game of Thrones series would end, that's completely fine with me. And I know a bunch of other people will have their own interpretations of how the ending should be, and that's also okay. Um, I also have my own opinions on how it should end, and that's okay too. Bottom line is, please keep an open mind, because I know I do know a bunch of books that are completely different from the movies, and it's it's not that bad if you read through it, unless the story's like actual garbage with like Deus Ex, like if they complete like give them plot armor or miss like have like a bunch of plot holes. Maybe I'll understand if you want to criticize it, but please don't criticize, or I don't even want to say criticize. Please don't severely dislike a book or movie based on the fact that it's not exactly how it looks in the other source of media. So vice versa. Um, yeah, I don't really know what I'm gonna talk about today. I could get into whatever experience I have in filmmaking because I don't really have that much, but I do have college experience, and that actually means very little when you think about it, but it also doesn't. Because I'm doing like a regular 4 year university thingamabob to learn how to make films. Um, my opinion, and this goes to anyone who wants to go into filmmaking and wants to learn filmmaking in college. This is, in my opinion, uh, which you don't have to factor in, but from what I've seen, you don't really need to go to college to make films. Honestly, all you really have to do is make films uh, amateurly with friends, because especially nowadays you have like YouTube, and if you want to learn how to edit or write, you have like Skillshare and what's the other, Masterworks or some shit like that, right? Or you could even look online, because in my opinion, this isn't like some, like, oh my god, I'm gonna shit on so many filmmakers by saying this, but if you want to think about like, I don't want to say actual jobs, because filmmaking I think is an actual job. Oh wow, I don't want to piss anyone off, but if you want to think about like getting a different field of career, like economics, or because doctors, they have like the 4 years of science and then pre-med and then their internships. That's because they're saving lives. They need to know about the human body, about biology, chemistry, science, depending on what field in the medical industry they want to go to. So that's really important. But what I'm saying is, as a filmmaker, you don't really need to take 4 years of college to make films, if that makes sense. Uh, like for example, like even when it comes to like, because in my opinion, I think filmmaking is more of a trade skill than a an educational skill. You need, like, it's not one of those things where like you need to go to college to learn how to make films. Um, you can literally like, especially back in the day, like editors, like post production interns, they're they were like apprentices pretty much, right? Um, that's because it's like a craft, kind of like an art. There's an art to editing. There's an art to writing, and you don't really need to learn other stuff that you would need to learn in college to make films. It's just, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong. All I'm saying is you don't need to go to college to make films. Um, I think the biggest thing though is because it's not like completely useless, because you could go to college if you want to learn how to make films, because you there are some pros to like, I don't know, networking. Networking is really important in making films or filmmaking. If you want to go into Hollywood, or if you want to do independent films, networking is really important, right? Because you need to know actors, you need to know directors, producers, even down to like uh designers, costume, makeup. That's really important in filmmaking. So I would say it is a pro if you want to go the college route in filmmaking, because that's a great way to network. You could join a film club, and from the film club you can make films to build your resume of films that you took part in, and then you could go get a job by showing those films. Be like, hey, I did the costuming for this and this, or I wrote this, and this is this is the film that was produced from my script. So all I'm saying is there are pros and cons to going to college. If you don't want to go that route, if you just want to make an amateur film with your friends, like pretty much what we're doing in Film Crew, maybe take a couple of classes on Skillshare, or go on the internet and look up how to write a script. But yeah, uh, yeah, I think that's pretty much my hot take on college filmmaking. Um, Cause, you know, yeah. Um, this is a point where Gaspar would speak, because I have nothing else to really say. I could go on to what I've been doing as well. I've pretty much, the past year, I haven't been really able to go out that much, and I know because of COVID, right? So all I've been doing was pretty much writing, and I think even in terms of writing scripts, you don't really need to go to college for that. It's pretty simple if you find, like, I don't know, like a script program like Celltext that kind of teaches you a little bit on what the format should be, and then you could go online on Google to figure out how to best structure your story. Because at the end of the day, you can't. It's all about inspiration if you want to write a good story, right? And you can't learn that in college. You could learn how to write a script, but you can't. You won't be able to learn what story you want to write. That's something you gotta figure out on your own, which is, I guess, it's easy if you think about it, but it's also really difficult. For example, I could, sure, maybe I'll be able to write on a good day, but the past year, since, like, I think around July or August, I've been pretty much staring at a wall, fiddling my thumbs around, trying to think up a good story to write. And it's getting better, but I don't know. Um, I'll say this. I'll give an example, right, on inspirations, just so I can fill up some more time on the podcast. So a couple of years ago, I went to where the fuck did I go? I went to Qatar for the army, and me and a couple of buddies were talking about flat Earth, right? We were talking about how flat Earth is real, and one of the guys I knew really wasn't having it, and I pretty much made a script on that, right? About just flat Earth being real. I don't know why I chose that specific script to talk about, but all I know is I can now comfortably put flat Earth in my video tags on YouTube without feeling like a complete clickbaiting son of a bitch. But anyways, yeah, that's an inspiration, right? I was able to write a good bit of script based on flat Earth, based on the conversations we've had about flat Earth. And I think and this goes back to, like, I don't know, fuck, what am I talking about in this podcast? This goes back to, like, even the earlier topic of, you know, different interpretations of a story. Like, there were three guys talking about flat Earth, and my interpretation of that conversation could be completely different from the interpretation of the guy who wasn't having it, and it'd be completely different from a story that the other person could have wrote. So, yeah, I guess in a way I just ended up tying things in together to make somewhat of a cohesive podcast. And now I'm able to put flat Earth on my video tags without feeling like a leech. Other than that, I don't know how long I've been talking. I think I've been talking for like 15 minutes. So I'm pretty much gonna, I guess, end it there. Hopefully, Gaspar will be able to come around next week so we can actually have a decent storyline or a decent structure to go off of. But yeah, if that is it, it's a really short podcast. My name is Quan, and I just fucking rambled on for 15 minutes. Okay, that's it. Hi, I just want to fill up some more time, but you could find us. You could find me over here at Dury Quan for my second channel. I'm gonna leave Gaspar's YouTube channel in the YouTube video if you want to check that out. It's Gaspar underscore the underscore creature, and then you could find us at Film Crew 7 on Instagram. And if you want to listen to our future podcasts, we're on pretty much every podcast channel ever. I think we're using Anchor. I think they're using. I think they're distributing all of our stuff in every corner of the internet. Okay, that's it. Bye. We also don't have an outro either. We'll probably have one soon.